We were all shocked when we saw the end of the first season of Alchemy of Souls. Since this series began, there have been things that have not been clarified and details that we still do not understand. Most fans had the expectation that at the end of the first season many things were explained, however, there were more doubts than answers. That's why today I'm going to talk about the things that were not explained in Alchemy of Souls. But first, remember to subscribe to this channel and activate the notification bell to be among the first to see our content. Apparently part of the style of the Hong sisters, who are the writers of this amazing series, is that they present content that can be confusing to viewers. Although there are fans who were uncomfortable because there are still things that were not understood in the series, there are others who like this kind of dynamic full of mystery, suspense, and expectation. For this reason we are going to mention some things that were not understood. Let's start with one of the most famous. The Ice Stone. The Ice Stone is very important in the series, and is one of the most confusing and contradictory things. At first it was not well understood what the Ice Stone really was. Then there was an explanation that brought more confusion than explanation. For example, in the scene where Mu-Deok is supposedly inside the Ice Stone and Booyeon as a child and adult Booyeon appears to her, an explanation of the Ice Stone is given. According to what was said, the Ice Stone is not limited in shape, size or place, it can be water, fire, or wind, and no one can possess the Ice Stone, they only use its power. But then why did the relics tell Mu-Deok that it was the Ice Stone? Why was Mu-Deok able to control the Ice Stone for a while? Why did Jang-wook, when he was in the sky with the stars, take the Ice Stone? For what reason did Hwang bring the Ice Stone in a glass container? For what reason was the Ice Stone hidden in a lake? All those scenes prove that the stone was in someone's possession. I find it a bit contradictory that they explained that the Ice Stone no one can have it, and scenes were presented of when people had them. Now, does it mean that there is only one Ice Stone? There are many Ice Stones, or just some people are the ones who can invoke the presence of the Ice Stone? Could it be that the Ice Stone is just part of nature itself and only appears through some kind of ritual? Could the Ice Stone really disappear? What powers does it actually have? All these questions are up in the air, and although we may have many theories, the concept of the Ice Stone has not yet been clearly explained. Another thing that was not explained well was the scene when Booyeon as a child and Booyeon as an adult appeared. Why in the world did two Booyeon have to appear, one from the past and one from the present? This part is very confusing because they are supposedly the same soul but in past and present, something that is a little incomprehensible. We can also wonder why they both appeared when the stone manifested. Does the Ice Stone have trapped souls? We do not know. If we talk about incomprehensible apparitions, we have to talk about when Mu-Deok fell asleep in Mr. Lee's house. When Mu-Deok was sleeping, she had a vision or a dream where she was seeing adult Booyeon, and you could see that she didn't know what was going on. But the surprised face was because she really didn't know her, or because she did know her. We remember that Naksu had the same vision of adult Booyeon when her soul stayed in Mu-Deok's body. The question is, does Naksu really know that Booyeon's soul is next to hers? Another important scene that was not understood was when Jang-wook was about to shift his soul. We can see that Booyeon appeared in the middle of the process and saved him, but not only saved him, but it could be perceived as if Booyeon knew him or was in love with him. But if we talk about soul exchanges, we have to talk about the main one, when Naksu tried to exchange her soul with another woman's body and suddenly appeared in Mu-Deok's body. How was Booyeon able to do that? No scene was presented explaining how she intervened in that soul shifting. Could it be that she entered that soul shifting process as she did with Jang-wook? But how could she get a soul to enter her body, knowing that the other soul could dominate her own body? If we talk about Buyeon, her story has not been well explained yet. We only know that she fell into a lake and an old woman rescued her, but we don't know what happened during that time. We don't know if she really lost her memory, we don't know why she didn't look for her family, we don't really know who she is, and how powerful she is. The scene when Jangan resurrects her with the ice stone was not presented either, so we don't know if it is the same soul or another one. Another detail that was not well understood was why if Naksu's body was burned it would appear in season 2. Although we did not see the ashes of Naksu's body, we could see that the body was being burned. We know that this series is a fantasy series, but this part is not explained well, so we hope they can do it in season 2. One of the things that left fans curious was that they don't clearly talk about Naksu's mother, they only talked about the father. But what makes it more confusing is that they mentioned that Naksu's father had gone feral and was getting petrified, and that's why they killed him. But with that information we can think that really in Naksu's father's body was not the real soul, but that he had changed his body and that Naksu's father's soul is in another body. We can think many things because we do not have complete information. We also added that it was not well explained how Naksu developed. The only thing they presented is that she sometimes met Jin-Moo and sometimes spent time with Seo-yeol. But it is not known who else she met while she was in hiding, we don't know if she meets any other characters in the series. Her story has the same emptiness as Bayeon's story. Another detail that many have commented on is about the symbolisms of the series. We can see that from the beginning there have been many symbolisms in different things, such as swords, walls or other objects, and those symbolisms are very difficult to decipher, and we understand that it will have an important explanation or meaning in the story. An important detail and a little confusing was the character of Jin Seol-ran. Although she is not an active character in the story, she is a character that should have been explained a little better to understand other things. Also, the words of the heart letter was a bit confusing, although of course they explained some details. Many think that the poem really talks about how the ice stone can be summoned, and others think that it is the opposite, that it is about how to remove the ice stone. Although we know that the letter is related to the story of So-young and Sol-ran, there are things that were not well understood. We still have many doubts about many things in this series, and although there are of course many theories that can explain various scenes, the truth is that they have not yet explained many things clearly. So we will have to wait until December to understand and see all this story in a clearer way, and we hope that season 2 will answer all our questions. What other scene do you think they didn't explain well? We were all shocked with the end of Alchemy of Souls, and in the last episode of the first season unexpected things happened. But one of the things that surprised us the most was that in the previews of the second season we saw Naksu in her original body. But many wonder how this happened if her body was burned. Others are thinking how Seo-jul will feel when he sees Naksu, and of course many are wondering how Jang-wook will react to seeing her in another body. Other fans have also commented that Naksu's countenance is very different, and they are curious how the story will continue with her new look. That's why today I'm going to talk about this will happen with Naksu in the second season. One of the first things we must accept, of course even if it hurts us a lot, is that it is very likely that Mu-Deok has died, therefore her body will not be present. So for that reason it is expected that Naksu's soul will be quickly transferred to her original body. So this assures us that someone kept Naksu's ashes, and that Jang-wook used the ice stone to restore the body and get Naksu back to her body. This also means that Ho-young will be very sad, because she will most likely find out that Mu-Deok is her daughter. But she won't be able to do anything to revive her since her body was petrified by Jin-Moo's sorcery. Now the question is, what will Naksu do after being in her original body? Recall that Naksu had always said that her goal was to return to a better body in order to avenge her father's death. Then along the way plans changed a bit because she discovered that Jin-Moo was cheating on her and also fell in love. It is expected that in the second season Naksu will be clear that Jin-Moo was to blame for what happened to her and therefore, for what happened to Sang-Wook. For this reason she will do everything she can to get justice. However, she will not forget Jang-wook's love and will most likely choose love over revenge. So seeing that Jang-wook is very powerful and perhaps in danger for not knowing how to use those powers, she has as a priority to save him. It is also very likely that she has many enemies. She could be pursued by Choyeon and Dan-gu for killing Jin Yu-tak. Park Jin could be another character who will haunt her, because in addition to knowing everything she did in her past, now we add that she hurt Jang-wook, a person who raised him as if he was his son. But there will be other people who despite everything that happened will protect her. One of them could be Seo-jul. Although he said goodbye to his love in season 1, it may be that in this new season, seeing Naksu in her original body, he will try to be with her again. Of course, another person who will protect her will be Jang-wook, because she is the love of his life, although it might feel strange to see her in a different body. The second season will be called Light and Shadow. Many think this means that Naksu will represent the shadow and Jang-wook will represent the light. But if we analyze that the writers of this series, the Hwang sisters, like to surprise the audience, we could think that the story could take an unexpected twist. That's why I think that in this new season we could see a calmer Naksu, repentant for everything she did and only with the intention of doing justice. And on the contrary, we could see a totally different Jang-wook, full of rebelliousness, feelings of revenge and not knowing how to control his powers. When we see the previews we can notice that Naksu is dressed in white and Jang-wook in black, and this could symbolize their new personalities. What do you think will happen with Naksu in this new season? Well, all fans of Alchemy of Souls are eagerly awaiting the second season. Even though the first season ended with 20 chapters, there are still many questions to answer. Most people thought that the end of the first season was going to clear up a lot of doubts, and apparently we were left with more questions than answers. But in the previews of the second season, a new image of Naksu was presented that left everyone with their mouths wide open. Naksu looks very different and presents a vibe contrary to the one she presented in the previous chapters. Because of these images, fans have come up with many theories, and one of them is very interesting. That's why today I'm going to talk about theory that explains Naksu's memory loss. We know that the final episode of the first season was very shocking as most of us didn't expect everything that happened to happen. But if you follow the Hwang sisters' dramas, you know that unexpected things are always going to happen and there will always be a twist that will leave us shocked. We were all shocked when we saw Jin-Moo using witchcraft in order to overpower Mu-Deok, and it was very surprising to see how Naksu, was hypnotized. When we saw Mu-Deok like that, we realized that the old Naksu from the past, the one who was full of hatred and rancor, had returned. But of course, everything she did was because of Jin-Moo. But without a doubt, the most shocking part was when Mu-Deok pierced Jang-wook with her sword. I think all the fans cried or screamed at that part. This scene was very surprising because despite what Mu-Deok did, Jang-wook did not get angry and on the contrary recognized that there was something wrong with her. We add to it that Jang-wook took her hand, which represents a symbolism, meaning like an engagement ring. In other words, it symbolized their love pact. Then we see Mu-Deok disintegrating, and she goes to the lake and throws herself in. This scene where we can see that she is drowning was also very strong because the first thing you think is the end of the character. However, in the previews of the second season we saw how two women save Mu-Deok from the lake. It is currently believed that the ones who rescued Mu-Deok were Ho-young's maidservants. But definitely what everyone has been talking about is the image of Nak-soo in the previews of Season 2. This was something that really came as a surprise, and something we didn't expect. At least not in the way that character was presented, as we had always seen her as tougher. One of the questions that many ask is how is it possible that Nak-soo's body is present in the second season, if clearly her body was burned? But we must remember three things: the body was being burned, but we never saw it decompose, or we simply did not see the body in ashes. Another important detail is that Alchemy of Souls is a fantasy series, and therefore anything can happen. We add that the series has an ice stone that is extremely powerful and can revive the dead. So for all this, perhaps it is not so strange to see Nak-soo's body in the previews, since we have to remember that she will be the protagonist in this second season. But the most curious thing is that when we saw Nak-soo in the previews, we saw something totally different, with a calm and a little strange countenance. Because of these images, many fans believe that Nak-soo may have lost her memory when she was saved in the lake. This theory arises because Nak-soo was wearing a white dress, a type of outfit that the original Nak-soo would not usually wear. We also add that in the images her countenance did not reflect her personality, and she looked as if she was lost or simply could not recognize people. Because of these images, it is believed in the theory that perhaps Nak-soo may have lost her memory. There is even another theory that Booyeon's soul was transferred to Nak-soo's body, and that in the second season we will be able to see how the two souls continue together, but now in another body. This is believed because Booyeon is such a powerful being that it is very unlikely for her to die so easily. Because in the same way that Jang-wook was resurrected, Booyeon could be resurrected, and of course Nak-soo, who is also in the same body. It is said that since Booyeon intervened in the shift of Nak-soo's soul and managed to get Nak-soo's soul into her body, a kind of connection was created that indicates that the two souls have to be together in order to live, although of course there is always a soul that dominates more than the other. This is believed by the theory of yin and yang, which indicates that things that are different attract and complement each other. So if true, we might see Booyeon taking control at times. But others believe that actually Nak-soo's soul died and the one in the body is Booyeon, and that's why we see her in a place that looks a lot like Ho-young's house. But for the story to run its course and make some sense, I think that if Nak-soo loses her memory, something should happen for her to get it back soon, because Nak-soo and Jang-wook's love story would have to be continued. Also, it would have to continue with the possible revenge or act of doing justice about what Jin-moo did, since he is the main villain of the story, and it is coherent that he pays for the witchcraft he did to Nak-soo. Let's remember that thanks to the ice stone everything is possible, so no matter what happens the ice stone will always be the solution. We also have to remember that Booyeon was born thanks to the ice stone, and it is believed that part of her being has the powers of the ice stone that make her a priestess. For this reason, it is very likely that Booyeon's soul has intervened to save itself and also save Nak-soo. Because if Jang-wook was resurrected in the middle of his cremation, it is very likely that Mu-Deok was also saved. But there is also the possibility that because Jang-wook used the ice stone, he was able to save Mu-Deok. In the same way, it is understood that the ice stone made possible the return of Nak-soo's body, and it is understood that Mu-Deok's body could not really be saved. But of course this does not mean that her soul died, but rather that it could be transferred to Nak-soo's body. We could also see in the second season Booyeon acquiring another body so that she can free Nak-soo's soul and fulfill other roles, because she is very powerful. That would also bring a happy ending for Ho-young, who would have her daughter, albeit in another body. We still don't know what will happen for sure. The truth is that there are many theories that could help us think about the things that could happen in this new season. What is clear is that the second season will not have time for the story to be presented slowly because there are only 10 chapters. So everything must be explained in these 10 chapters so that fans can be very satisfied with the whole story. Do you think Naksu lost her memory? Do you think that in the second season Booyeon will take over Naksu's body? What do you think will happen to Naksu in this second season? Leave your comment here so we can see your opinion. If you like this video, like and share it with your friends.